The left now crosses the Rubicon. Charlie Kirk, rest in peace. Okay, my friends, as you know, I normally start every show with Good Morning Kuner Country, but there's nothing to say this morning about it being a good morning. It's not a good morning. It is a very sad morning. It is a tragic morning. The news broke yesterday that Charlie Kirk, the founder and president of Turning Point USA, one of the leading conservatives in our country, a voice of the young generation, a patriot, a very intelligent, articulate man, a family man, a God-fearing man, did what he normally did. He went to a college campus. For those of you who don't know much about Charlie, his movement and his organization, Turning Point USA, they were not just strong conservatives and big Trump supporters, but Charlie Kirk made it his mission to go into the proverbial lion's den, where the left is dominant, the radical left, the hateful left, the Marxist intolerant left. And he would debate them in campus after campus after campus. In fact, they said that he went to over 3,500 college campuses in the United States over the last 7-8 years of his career. And what defined Charlie Kirk, and this is why his assassination is so shocking, disgusting, and frankly sickening, is that Charlie Kirk was, number one, a moderate conservative. The media now is trying to paint him as the devil, as somehow to the right of Attila the Hun, as CNN and MSNBC, to their eternal shame, now are calling him divisive, polarizing, as the New York Times put it, a right-wing provocateur. He was nothing of the sort. Charlie Kirk believed in freedom of speech, in open civil discourse and debate. Literally, he would go college campus to college campus and invite all points of view, especially students who disagreed with him, liberals, progressives, Marxists, communists, socialists, and say, bring it on. Let's have a debate. The free flow of ideas, freedom of speech, genuine tolerance, genuine civil discourse. But for the left, they don't believe in freedom anymore. They don't believe in freedom of speech anymore. And during the height of cancel culture, the height when the left, literally screaming mobs on college campuses, were trying to shut him down, he went there and he debated them fearlessly, courageously, unapologetically. Yesterday, he was in Orem, Utah. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to inject myself into this, but I want everyone to know how much this means to me and my family. I know Orem, Utah. I spent over a month in Orem, Utah. 13 years ago, almost to the day, because yesterday was Ava's birthday, September 10th. And 13 years ago, September 10, 2012, it was in Orem, Utah, that my baby girl was born. And we had the pleasure, the privilege, the gift of adopting her. I know Orem, Utah. I know the people of Orem, Utah. I even know Utah Valley campus. I went there just to look around. The students, salt of the earth. There is no more peaceful, safe place in the United States of America, I'm telling you, than Orem, Utah. The people at the adoption agency, they were Mormons. They took us out for dinner after we adopted Ava and took her from the hospital, and we had her at our hotel. And it was a point of pride to them. As we were eating dinner, they said, "Can you just stop for a second?" I'm like, "Okay." They said, "Look, listen, do you hear one siren? Have you seen one police car? Have you seen one ambulance? Look how quiet and peaceful it is here. That's the way we like it, and we're proud of it." And now the radical left has shattered even that. If you're not safe in Orem, Utah, I'm telling you, you're not safe now anywhere in America. And Charlie did what Charlie did. He went to Utah Valley University. Thousands of students were waiting for him. He greeted many of them. He was even tossing Trump 47 baseball caps to the crowd on the side of the tent that he was sitting in. It said, "Bring it on." He had a microphone. There was a line of students. Let's talk. Let's have a discourse. Let's debate civilly, peacefully, in the American tradition. And as he was answering a question about transgender mass shooters, in the midst of the first question, from across the campus at a building 200 yards away on the roof, an assassin, a sniper, eerily reminiscent of Butler, Pennsylvania. One shot cut him down. Mike and I were talking about this before we went on the air. And Mike said to me, "Jeff, I saw the graphic video." I said, "So did I." And Mike said, I wish I hadn't seen it. Because now it's just in my mind. It's just in my mind. I can't get it out of my mind. And he's right. The bullet hit him right in the neck. It almost blew his head off. His head went back, recoiled, and then slumped over. And then there was chaos and pandemonium. All you could hear then was down, 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 meaning get down. People were running. Students were in panic. Thousands of people fleeing. The assassin used that panic and that pandemonium to get away. According to eyewitnesses and according to the FBI and the university, they say the sniper was dressed in black jeans with a black shirt. He had a rifle, a long gun. All he needed was one shot. It was premeditated. It was a politically motivated assassination of a leading conservative figure. For the youth movement, the leading voice in our country. And I want to ask all of you, and in particular, to Bill in Sudbury, to Frank in Gloucester, to Chris in Gloucester, and to all of you liberals and moonbats that send me hate mail every single freaking day. Are you happy now? Are you happy? Did you get your blood? What was Charlie Kirk's crime? What did he do that deserved him getting practically his head blown off? Murdered, killed. Because you can't debate him? Because you can't handle the truth? Because his words scare you? Every Democrat and liberal should be hanging their head in shame today. And I said this on X, and now I'm going to say it again. And you can hold me to this for the rest of my life. And I'm telling you right now, I'm willing to stake my career now, my very reputation, my job, my livelihood on what I'm about to say. I blame the Democrats and the media for the assassination and murder of Charlie Kirk. You have been calling us, conservatives, Trump MAGA supporters, Nazis, fascists, authoritarians, white supremacists, quote, an existential threat to democracy. Day after day, week after week, year after year. And this climate of hate that you have created now has led to political violence and political murder. 617-266-6868 on a very dark, sad day in the wake of the murder, the assassination of really a conservative legend, Charlie Kirk. Let me just say one final point. The lines are jammed. I want to go right to the great audience of Kuner country. Obviously now, all eyes are on the shooter, the identity of the shooter, and to finally get him brought to justice, or her. It looks like it's a man, but let's just keep, I don't want to prejudge anything. What is clear is that the FBI arrested not one but two suspects yesterday and then released them, saying they were not the shooter. So the shooter remains at large. And as I said, eyewitnesses said it was a man, it appears to be a man, dressed in jeans, black jeans, and a black shirt. Pretty much dressed all in black. He is now on the loose. The FBI is combing the country looking for him. Utah State Police, law enforcement everywhere. There is a massive manhunt underway. Listen now. This was a law enforcement press conference saying it was a shooter dressed in black from a building about 200 yards across the campus where Charlie Kirk, was sitting down inside a tent, already beginning to debate and answer questions and go back and forth with students. Roll cut 5, Mike.
The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it, but it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you believe the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a fair, potentially from a roof, yes. A longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
They had a suspect, and it's apparently he's not the shooter. And so they released him. Then they arrested someone else. Kash Patel, the FBI director, went on social media. He said, we've got him. And then about maybe 45 minutes later said, oops, no, we don't have him. This is not the man who killed Charlie Kirk. And so they are still actively looking for the shooter. 617-266-6868. Okay, let's go to Eric in Utah. Thanks for holding, Eric, and welcome.
Hey, good day, Jeff. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It just bothers me because, well, for one thing, it happened on Utah soil, but part of me shouldn't be surprised because it's near the Salt Lake area. It's what I'd like to call the blue tumor on red Utah. So, yeah, just wow.
Eric, what's the vibe down in Utah? How are the people of Utah taking the news of this murder and assassination of Charlie Kirk?
well, if it's like me or anybody else with, any kind of decent conscience, it's just, oh gosh, I don't know what to say. It's just messed up. It's just upsetting because, this guy was 31. He's relatively young, and a good voice for the right. But I guess that was the major problem of those on the left and liberal because, oh my gosh, social media, it's just blowing up with all kinds of mixed reactions, and anybody who was celebrating Charlie Kirk's demise, those were the ones that are upsetting the most. It just made me say, you know what? I'm not playing nice.
It has to be said now. I'm sorry. You're right. They're pieces of, you know what? They're POS. And look, let me go even further. And you're completely right, Eric. Look, I know Utah. I've been to Utah. I adopted my child from Utah. The adoption agency, even for Ashton, although we adopted him from Minnesota, was from Utah. So believe me, I know Utah very well. If this can happen in Utah, then I'm telling you, no one is safe anywhere in this country. I don't want to repeat this point, but it bears repeating. Now, they were celebrating. Last night, the Democrats, many of them, and the media, many of them, and especially liberals on social media, they were celebrating. They were dancing on Charlie Kirk's grave, saying that he deserved it, that he had it coming. Oh, this is the guy who would defend the Second Amendment. Well, guess what? He got shot by a gun. What comes around goes around. These people are sick. They're sick. And I've been warning, I don't know how many years now. I said, you watch. How many times did I say this? Someone is going to get killed. Someone high profile is going to get killed. Because if you keep calling people Nazis, and you keep calling them white supremacists, and fascists, and wannabe dictators, and a threat to democracy, some crazy person is going to say, you know what? If you're supporting Hitler, I'm going to shoot you dead. And that's what politically motivated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And the reason why I was so confident when I kept saying this for many years is I know because I get the death threats. I do. I get 10 to 15 death threats a week. I know what the left says about me. I know what they say about Trump. So I know the danger that Charlie Kirk was courting every time he debated them on college campuses. They have been dehumanizing us. That's what they've been doing for years. Conservatives, Trump, MAGA, Trump supporters, MAGA supporters. And so now this is the consequence, the logical consequence of all of this hatred and demonization, this climate of hate. And now Charlie Kirk, 31 years old. The man had his whole life in front of him. With a wonderful wife, 2 beautiful young children. His children now are going to grow up without a father. And for what? 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text the Kuner Man, 70470, 70470. I just want to read a message that I got from Mark, which is very moving, very powerful, and I think really sums up the feelings, frankly, of me and I think many of you in the audience. Good morning, Jeff. Frankly, it's not a good morning, but I appreciate the sentiment, Mark. This is a bit lengthy, but I hope you read this today. It is a sad day in America. Charlie Kirk was a brilliant young man who loved God, family, and country, and who spoke nothing but the truth, and would graciously debate anyone without ever disrespecting anyone, and always willing to hear the other side, whether he agreed with it or not. There was no reason at all for anyone to take his life. I'm still sick to my stomach this morning, but I guess if you don't just sit down and shut up, this is what could possibly happen to you or me or anyone who disagrees with the left's outrageous policies. Well, Jeff, Charlie didn't sit down, and he didn't shut up. And for that, his life was unjustly taken away too early. And if they think for a second that this is going to scare us, and we're just going to sit down and shut up, they're sorely mistaken. We will speak more truth, and much louder than before, because they just woke us all up. And to whoever committed this despicable, sickening act, we will find you and you will suffer. Rest in peace, Charlie. My condolences to your beautiful family, and don't worry, because we the people will take it from here. Here is my prediction. The right now is going to be even louder, even more determined, even more ferocious, even more outspoken. They think by murdering Charlie Kirk that they're going to shut down the Make America Great Again movement. My friends, they've done the very opposite. This assassination has awoken a sleeping giant. And my prediction, our movement now is only going to get bigger and stronger. And this murder, this politically motivated murder, this left-wing murder, shows now conclusively, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what now has changed. We are a different country today. There is no coexistence with the intolerant radical left. They hate us. They hate us to our very core. You can see it in the Democrats, in the media, the way they openly gloated and celebrated Charlie's death. For them, words are weapons. Words are violence. You debate them and you expose them for the lies that they spew or the falsities that they preach, and what they want to do is shoot you dead. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, yesterday went on and said that the murder of Charlie Kirk threatens the very foundation of Republican government, small r, Republican government. Why? Because the key to a Republican government is the ability of citizens to openly and freely debate and to have different opposing points of view and have a civil discourse. The left doesn't want free speech. They're against free speech. The left doesn't want civil discourse. They want censorship, power, and control. They are consumed with hatred and intolerance. So what I'm calling for now is for all conservatives, MAGA supporters, to put aside our infighting, the little mini debates that we have, the constant back and forth, the bickering, the arguing, and to unify against the enemy now within. And the enemy within, let's be crystal clear, is the Democratic Party and the media. They are now openly supporting political terrorism. The murder of Charlie Kirk was an act of political terrorism. And it's not just Charlie Kirk. President Trump addressed the nation yesterday in a video. And as President Trump rightly said, the radical left now, they're the ones who pose the existential threat to democracy, or to be more accurate, to our constitutional republic. Because if you cannot have open civil debate, if you can't stand opposing points of view, then you can't have a free society and a free country. Listen now to President Trump address the nation, saying Charlie Kirk was a martyr for freedom, a martyr for patriotism, a martyr for America. Roll cut 1, Mike.
Great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth.
He was the leading voice of his generation, and he resonated with young people all across the country. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the left wanted him silenced, because he was a threat to their power and to their control and to their lies. And before I go to the phone lines, I want to read to you a quote, because this applies to America today, and it applies to what happened to Charlie Kirk. And it's from George Orwell. And this is what George Orwell famously wrote. Quote, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it." That's why the left, that's why the Democrats cannot peacefully coexist with conservatives or MAGA or anyone who opposes their sick communist worldview. Because they are so far away from the truth that any time you challenge them, they hate you and they want to destroy you, silence you, censor you, conquer you, subjugate you, and as we found out yesterday, kill you. And so my question to all of you, what do you make of the assassination of Charlie Kirk? And has the country now irrevocably been changed? Tommy in Brockton. Thanks for holding, Tommy, and welcome.
Jeff, number one, you really need to watch your back. Number two, the one thing, I was a subscriber on YouTube to Charlie Kirk's channel, and the one thing that I liked about him is that he would have a morbidly obese white male dressed up wearing blue hair, trying to pretend and convince him that he was a woman. Tommy in Brockton, if I were to 7-Eleven, that guy were behind the register, I'm not a good person. I would burst out laughing at this buffoon. Charlie Kirk would debate
him. Tommy, can you please hang on?
Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith. And we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America.
That, of course, was President Trump yesterday addressing the country from the Oval Office in a video statement in the wake of the assassination, the murder of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. The killer, the murderer, is still out on the loose. They have not captured him, and hopefully the FBI and law enforcement will, but there is a little bit now of concern because God knows where this person is now. Could be in a car, driving. At this point, it could be on the the other side of the country. So there is an all-out manhunt for this suspect right now, and now everyone is asking the obvious question: are the Democrats and the media responsible for the murder of Charlie Kirk, for the murder of another prominent Trump supporter and voice. Let's go right back to Tommy in Brockton. Tommy, please pick up where you left off.
Thank you, Jeff. The point I was going to make with regards to Charlie Kirk, he would have some freak on a college campus. He would not personally attack that individual. As I said, a morbidly obese white male with wearing blue hair pretending to be a woman. Myself, I don't claim to be a great person. I would burst out laughing at a buffoon like that. And I will pay for that ultimately in the end for being insensitive to someone with a mental disorder. But I've seen him take on a person of a different faith, of the religion of peace and tolerance that I'm told by Oprah Winfrey and cultural elites. And he would tell them that your prophet did not write the Holy Quran. He was illiterate. Your prophet raped, robbed, and murdered people. And the one thing that I liked about Charlie Kirk is he would make people critically think. Now, if I look at my youth, I graduated from Foxborough High School in 1978. I was a terrible student. I hung around college kids in Boston back then. And the one thing I remember hearing from a lot of white female college students back then was, I don't want to be the typical white suburban housewife with 2.6 children living in the suburbs with a single family house with a white picket fence. And it always shocked me hearing that from kids that, you know, obviously had something on the ball going to college. And the other thing that I noticed is that I was baptized a Protestant. I believed in Jesus. I wasn't very religious in my youth. But I would have male college students back then challenge me about my faith, believing in Jesus. Well, prove to me that there was a Jesus. You know, and I just look at the big picture. And it's been this brainwashing of college students. And I had the experience to go and hear Noam Chomsky on one lecture and Howard Zinn with a roommate that I had way back when. And especially with Howard Zinn, I just came out of that lecture thinking, you know what? The Germans got what they deserved in Dresden. I'm sorry. But the other point I wanted to make as far as political violence is concerned, Matthew Dowd yesterday just poo-pooed it on MSNBC that, well, maybe somebody was firing a celebration shot. And I also look back a few years ago about the movie of Chris Kyle, and when that morbidly obese, fat slob, Michael Moore, said, well, snipers are nothing more than cowards. Those are two individuals that if I were to meet in person, I would probably cold cock them. I have a short fuse. I'm not a good person. But that is what we are dealing with in this country. And I'm not going to take this anymore. I don't need white women that are going through menopause screaming at me that I'm a Nazi because I voted for Donald Trump. You know nothing about my family history. And I went to high school with some of these people. And they have turned out to be, through social media, some of the nastiest people that I have ever met in my life. And they're liberals, they're Democrats, they say yes to everything. And to me, no. I think Charlie yesterday had a sign on his on the booth he was sitting under, the tent under, of "Bring it on." Yes. Bring it on, people. Bring it on.
I'm with you. Tommy, very powerful call. I'm with you all the way, my friend. Look, enough is enough. And, you know, look, we have to, I'm telling you, we have to stop taking these insults. No, you're not calling us Nazis anymore. F you. That's the only response now. F you. We're not going to be called Nazis anymore, and fascists and white supremacists and quote unquote a threat, an existential threat to democracy. Because that kind of dehumanization leads to people getting murdered. And that's what happened to Charlie yesterday. And, you know, I've been saying this for years. I can't tell you how many people in the conservative establishment, they chortle. The left is just being silly. They just don't know what else to say. I'm like, you guys are idiots. You really are. Because they're basically laying the groundwork to keep killing people. That's what they're doing. So this climate of hate has to be confronted. And this is the thing I thought that was brilliant about Trump yesterday. He addressed it head on. He took on the media. He took on the Democrats. He took on popular culture. He took them all. He took the left right on, saying, no, you're to blame for what happened. You've got blood on your hands. In fact, don't even take my word for it. This is President Trump yesterday. To me, one of his best addresses ever. Roll cut to Mike.
It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
Bingo. 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 It's not just Charlie Kirk. What they did to Charlie Kirk is what they tried to do to Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. It was the same thing. From a roof, several hundred yards away, out in the open. And let's be very clear. Donald Trump, last year in Butler, was a dead man. I'm sorry I have to say it this way, but we need to speak honestly with each other. That bullet was going straight for his brain. Okay? Yesterday's bullet got Charlie right in the neck. That bullet was going straight to the temple. And only by the grace of God, the hand of God, it was a miracle that Trump at the last millisecond turned his head. Or else his brains, a la JFK, would have been splattered everywhere. Again, by a radical leftist. Then they tried to kill him again at the golf course in Florida. But that wasn't enough. Remember what Luigi Mangione did. That radical leftist shot a healthcare executive. Whatever you think about health insurance companies, he was a father. He had children. He had a wife. He was going to work. And Mangione shot him right there on the street, killed him dead. And he's a folk hero to the left. They love Mangione. They celebrate Mangione. Have we forgotten Antifa? Black Lives Matter? How many innocent people they've killed? How many cops they've shot? How many cops they maimed? How about Steve Scalise on that baseball field with the congressional baseball team? A Bernie supporter almost shot him dead and wounded 3 others. If there wasn't security there, it would have been a bloodbath. I could go on and on and on. And so for the last 10 years, what have the liars in the media told us? What do these Democrats tell us? The violence is from the political right. It's Trump. It's MAGA. Really? So, did MAGA kill Charlie Kirk? Did MAGA try to assassinate and kill Donald Trump? Did MAGA shoot Steve Scalise? Did MAGA shoot Brian Thompson, that healthcare executive? No. These were all crimes and political terrorism committed by the radical left in this country and justified and supported by the Democrats. And if you want to see how vile they are, Tommy mentioned Matthew Dowd and MSNBC. Now, I went on X yesterday and I said, that scumbag has got to go. Him and Katie Tur. She's a host on MSNBC. They literally said that that Charlie Kirk had it coming. He had it coming. This is the so-called media. Listen now to Matthew Dowd on MS, not even Left BC. Now it's MS Hate BC. Roll cut 12, Mike. All right, we're having some technical problems. Basically, he said it could have been a supporter of Trump that shot Charlie Kirk. You know, shooting a gun off in celebration. And then he goes on to say, you know, Charlie Kirk, you have hateful thoughts. You have hateful words. Well, that leads to hateful actions. Meaning, in other words, he had it coming. Now, Dowd was eventually, they had to fire him because there was such immense blowback. But this is the kind of relentless hate, the kind of poison, the kind of relentless propaganda that you see. MSNBC should have their broadcasting license revoked.
Yeah, and again, to emphasize what you just emphasized, we don't know any of the full details of this. We don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
I mean, that guy's a piece of you-know-what. Now, they did have to fire him. They finally cut him loose. But what about Katie Tur? Why does she still have a job? And this is no different from Larry Stop the Hammering O'Donnell or that other hater, that other propagandist, Rachel Madcow. This is the kind of garbage, the kind of toxic poison that they spew on a daily basis. What did Charlie ever say that was hateful? Notice, truth is hateful. Truth is hate speech. And they want to censor and cancel and shut down hate speech. And that's what they did yesterday. It was the ultimate form of cancel culture. Now, you want to see how sick and evil Democrats are? Here, listen to this. Okay, one more. You got to hear this. So, Lauren Boebert in the House yesterday, the House of Representatives, got up and wanted to push a motion to have a prayer said, just a prayer, a moment of silence and a prayer for Charlie Kirk. A prayer. He's dead. He leaves behind a young wife and 2 beautiful children. Out of just common decency and humanity, can we have just a moment of silence and maybe say a small prayer to pray for his soul and pray for his family? The Democrats shouted her down. They were yelling, screaming. They couldn't contain their hatred even after Kirk was dead. And Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna starts yelling at them, saying, you effing own this. You effing own this. In other words, it's your rhetoric, it's your hatred that led to the death of Charlie Kirk. Roll cut 10, Mike.
Is there someone who can lead us in a moment of prayer out loud for Charlie and his family?
Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order.
These people are animals. I'm sorry, these Democrats, they're animals. And that was Anna Paulina, Luna yelling, saying, you effing own this. But, it was Lauren Boebert said, I just want to, push for a motion or ask for a motion. Can we just have a moment of silence and please a quick prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family? And the Democrats, well, no, how dare you, my God, no. Go on social media. Please don't take my word for it. Teachers, elementary school, middle school, high school, forget college professors, all over the country, here in Massachusetts, openly celebrating and glorifying the death of Charlie Kirk, saying, I feel no sympathy for him whatsoever. He had it coming. Good. One more MAGA Nazi down. Let's keep going. They want more of us to be killed. So I don't know what else to tell you. Now, this hatred, this intolerance, this anti-Americanism, this political fanaticism, this communism, you want to, I'm sorry, you know what happened to Charlie Kirk? That's what communists do. They shoot people in the head or in the neck. They wipe out their opponents. That's what communists do. Now, if we don't confront this, if all of us don't say, I'm not putting up with this, don't want to swear, this crap anymore. You call me a Nazi? F you. You call me a fascist? F you. You call me a white supremacist? F you. You've lost the debate. Get lost. You're not fit to live in a free society. You can't handle open debate. Get lost. If we can't say that anymore, then I'm telling you, there's going to be more Charlie Kirks. And let me be brutally honest with you like I'm in the confessional. I was taking a nap yesterday. Okay, I'm feeling bad. My left ribs are really starting, they're still hurting. And I'm on heavy medication. So the Kuner man was taking a nap. My daughter comes into the bedroom, wakes me up. She says, William Kelly is on the phone. William Kelly Jr. He has to speak to you. It's an emergency. I'm like, my God, what happened? I honestly thought something happened to his mom or something. And he says to me, Charlie Kirk is shot. Charlie Kirk is dead. I'm like, oh my God, what? At first I thought, like, am I dreaming? Is this a nightmare? And then he says, he's dead. They shot him. He was at a university in Utah and they shot him dead. And then right away, that's what he says to me. I'm worried about you, Jeff. I'm worried about you. You do all these rallies. You're always so outspoken. You have so many people who hate you. And he says to me, please, please, get a gun. You got to get yourself protection. You got to be careful. You got to stop doing rallies. You've got to stop being so exposed in the public. I'm so worried that you could be next. And honestly, I felt extremely touched. And I said, William, look, I'll be candid with you. I get about at least 10 to 15 death threats a week. You should see the hate that comes from these leftists and these liberals. These people are sick. Like, you don't like what I have to say, just turn the damn dial. I got a call from my sister. I got a call from my two sister-in-laws. Grace, the two kids. I've been ordered, literally ordered. My two children. Ashton, by the way, knew about Charlie Kirk. He's 15. Just to show you the reach that Charlie had with young people. My son knew about Charlie Kirk. And they said, Daddy, we forbid you from doing rallies anymore. Not outside, not outdoors. Inside, in an auditorium or a hall, that's something else. But outside, my whole family, literally, my sister, my sister-in-law, everybody. Jeff, we're not letting you. That's it. You understand? You're not going to do it. That's it. Is this the kind of country we want to live in? That now you can't have an outdoor event because some crazy left-wing terrorist is going to blow someone's brains out? Whether it's the president of the United States or the leader of a conservative youth movement? We're becoming a third world banana republic. Right in front of our eyes. So the question we conservatives, we MAGA supporters, have to ask ourselves is, are we going to allow this to happen to ourselves and to our country? Or are we finally now When they call you a Nazi, take them seriously. When they call you Hitler, take them seriously. We have to push back with everything that we have. Agree, disagree. Heather in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Heather, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I am so devastated by this. There's two people I religiously listen to every single day. It's you and Charlie Kirk. And I just can't even believe that this has happened. I mean, he's a young guy with two young kids, a beautiful wife. I mean, and he had nothing but respect, and the talent he had to bring these young and, the youth together, like the younger people, I feel like he was, I know he was instrumental in getting Trump. I mean, he was definitely one of the, person that was instrumental in getting Trump elected. I don't care what
Heather, again, I'm sorry, we're up against the break. Please, I don't want you to go because you are completely right. Charlie Kirk, gunned down at the young age of 31, the victim of a politically motivated assassination. And the question now is, as a country, as a nation, where do we go from here? Let's go right back to Heather in Rockland. Heather, you were making, I thought, an absolutely brilliant point that Charlie Kirk played a pivotal role in the election of Trump. Especially in galvanizing the youth vote. He was so effective communicating to younger people, college students, high school students. And you're completely right, Heather. He was always willing to debate anybody. And that's the thing about him. No one was fairer in giving both sides that chance to give their point of view than Charlie Kirk. And yet, for some strange reason, he's the one that the left picked out to now assassinate and get rid of. Please pick up where you left off, Heather.
Two things. I'll tell you a quick little story. My best friend's daughter, she graduated last year, but when she was a senior last year in high school, she was taking a public speaking class, and she called me. She's like, "Auntie, I have a question for you," because she knows I'm very into politics and I follow all this stuff. And she says, my teacher told us to watch the presidential debate and learning about public speaking and debating. And I said to Jacqueline, the presidential debates are good for you to watch. I said, but you really want to learn, and someone who's phenomenal and very, very talented at debating. I said, it's Charlie Kirk. And I said, he's more your age. I said, and he's phenomenal and he's fair. I said, I think you'll learn a lot if you watch his videos. With him debating, college kids similar to your age. I said, I really think you should, watch some of his stuff, so you could learn a little bit. So, and she was just like, oh, thank you, Auntie. And it was just, I just remember that fondly, like her calling me and asking me like my opinion. And I just always, and he was the first person I told her to listen to or watch on video.
Heather, let me ask you this, because you're completely right. He was an absolutely brilliant, effective debater. And notice, he always let the other side speak. They always got their say. And then he would come in with this devastating rebuttal. And so I've got to ask, Heather, is a reason why he was murdered, assassinated, and why so many Democrats and liberals are cheering his death is because they know he was brilliant and effective? And that's why they felt they needed to take him out, and they're so happy now that he's gone? I mean, does that explain a lot of the reaction? What say you?
And there's 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that this is deep state. Like, no doubt in my mind, this was a professional deep state hit. I don't care what anyone says, and that I absolutely think that. The thing with Charlie Kirk too is he was self-taught. Like, he studied. He didn't go to college. He self-taught, and he blows, like, I always enjoyed, because I learned from him, and he's like freaking 31. He's 6 years older than my oldest nephew. I mean, he's young. To me, he's like a kid in a sense, you know? And the fact that he's self-taught, and it was like college is a scam. You know, it was always like, I loved watching him in the colleges, and it'd be like, yeah, college is a scam, and then here's why, and then debate the college kids. And I mean, he would always even win with some of the professors, a lot of the professors that would debate him. It was awe-inspiring to me. The talent and he was just very nice. He was never condescending. He was always respectful. And his mission, I mean, he was destined for great things. And it was just, I got such enjoyment every day watching and listening to him because of, you know, his talent, just like you. Like, I can't stop my day without listening to you. Like, you were the next person I thought of. I'm like, I hope Jeffrey has some security and is really, really being careful, because I don't know what I'll do if Jeffrey Kuner, like, something happens to him. Like, I can't stop my day without listening to you. Like,
thank you, Heather.
I have tears.
Heather, I have to say this. You're so right. Charlie Kirk would have been president one day. I'm convinced of that. I agree with you. And, you know, when you say to me, he was already great. I think there's no question. He was a great conservative leader, a great conservative organizer. He was a brilliant conservative spokesman. He had a talent. Look, there are some very good debaters. There's no question. But his magic touch, his special skill, he knew how to communicate and reach the youth. And that's a very hard talent. That's a rare talent. That's a rare gift. And he had that. And to me, I thought, you know, he was already, to me, a man of immense accomplishment. And as you said, you know, basically a kid, right? Only 31 years old. He was president. He was destined to be president. And look, I think you nailed it, Heather. They knew he was a great man. They knew he was destined for even greater things. And that's why they had to take him down. And that's why the left is cheering. Because for them, they believe they've won a great battle. And to me, I can't think of anything more despicable or sickening than this. They couldn't beat him in the arena of ideas. So they had to resort to the gun. Heather, thank you very much for that call. And my friends, that's totalitarianism. That's communism. That's Marxism. They always go on about us being the Nazis and the fascists. That's fascism. That's Nazism. They can't handle the free exchange of ideas and the debate, free flow debate, open and civil debate. So they have to resort to the gun, to the bullet. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi,
welcome back.
Thank you.
What a sad day. Well, being 9/11, God bless America and all the people who perished in 9/11. Charlie, rest in peace. You know, they really couldn't beat him in the truth that he used to talk about.
Angelo, please hang on again.
Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed, because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come.
Amen, President Trump. That was Trump in his statement straight from the Oval Office, mourning, really, and in the wake of the assassination, the brutal murder of Charlie Kirk. He has now ordered that all American flags across the country be flown at half-staff until Sunday. So the nation is in mourning. The left is celebrating, but middle America and certainly Trump country is mourning today. 617-266-6868. Let's go right back to Angelo in Rockland. Angelo, you were making a very strong point about how they had to silence him because he was such an effective, strong debater, and he wasn't afraid to debate anybody, anywhere, anytime, any place. And he really went to the hotbed of the left, which is the institutions they control, universities, colleges, and in the lion's den. He would debate them, and he would often win. And that's what made him so dangerous and such a threat to the Democratic Party, to the media, and to the left in general. Please pick up where you left off, Angelo.
And thank God for him for doing that, because the truth, you can't beat the truth with a lie. But there's the threats to America, to the American way of life, is like there's a pyramid set here. If you look at it, number one, you got the media, that's on that side. You have the New World Order, number two, and number three, you have the radical Democrats. So, being a civilized society, what America has to do is we have to do things with the pen, unless we're provoked one-on-one. But with the pen, we can fight back, Jeff. And with the pen, I say that because we're not violent people. We go to the voting blocks and we vote, and we remember who is who when voting time comes. And one other thing, remember that if you're not born in America, people, you should not have the right to be in public office because your views from your countries aren't American values. You got to come here and assimilate to our way of life. They're coming in, they want to send the money overseas, and they don't care about the American way of life. They're dismantling it. Their plan is somewhat working. Thank God Trump got in for office. And one last thing that I'd like to say, while we have the ship and we have the power to do it, let's do it by the pen, peacefully, in memory of Charlie and everybody has perished that loves America. And what do you think about this?
Oh, well said. Well said, Angelo, honestly, very well said. And Angelo, I got to say this. That's the thing I so admired about Charlie, is that he never resorted to violence. He never resorted to thuggery. He never censored anybody. He never shut anybody down. He was all about freedom. He really loved liberty and the Constitution and the First Amendment and civil debate and open, free debate. He believed in free speech passionately. And, Tommy and Brockton said even some of the most absurd people, he would debate them and he wouldn't mock them or make fun of them or disparage them. And that's what made him so devastating as a debater. And look, I think what the murder of Kirk shows, and especially the reaction, the sickening reaction, and I'm going to just give you I don't want to give you too much because honestly it's going to turn your stomach. But the sickening reaction, it's very, very obvious. The left is at war with the truth. They cannot handle the truth. And what the left has now, the Democratic Party, liberals, progressives, whatever you want to call them, they really now are communists. They are against free speech. Free speech is a threat to their indoctrination. It is a threat to their propaganda. It is a threat to their power and their control. Because I'll be brutally honest with everybody, and I hope I'm not disrespecting Charlie, I'm telling you. But if I was this evil Machiavellian power player behind the scenes, and I would say, well, we got to start taking out people in MAGA. We got to get some guys with some snipers and start shooting people and killing them. I wouldn't go after Charlie Kirk. Honestly, I'd go after, Trump, obviously, but I don't know, J.D. Vance, Steve Bannon. There are other people that I would say, no, I think in a sense of having political influence, those are the people you want to take out. Charlie Kirk was one of the nicest guys you could find. Charlie Kirk was Mr. Tolerance. You have the right to your opinion. I have the right to my opinion. You say your piece. I say my piece. You give your arguments. I give my arguments. And you let the public decide. Let the students decide. And that is too much for them. And so what that shows, that's why I'm telling you, we've crossed the Rubicon now. Two things happened yesterday, and we're not going to be able to put the genie back in the bottle. Number one, the Democrats, the media, and the left have now shown us beyond a shadow of a doubt that they cannot and will not live peacefully with us. They don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in tolerance. They don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in our values. So peaceful coexistence now is almost impossible. They are rabidly intolerant. That's what the left is. And number two, and I think there's now no question, they are now openly celebrating and justifying political violence and political terrorism. When you look at the media reaction, when you look at the Democrats, I'm going to get into this a little bit later. Elizabeth Warren is an absolute, complete scumbag. She's a scumbag. The body of Charlie Kirk wasn't even cold. He had just died on the operating table at the hospital, the trauma center in Utah. And she goes to the media and says, it's time for gun control. What? And not only is it time for gun control, she says, I blame Trump for the climate of political violence. So Trump is to blame for the murder of Charlie Kirk? You want to push? By the way, we don't even know the gun that the shooter used. We know nothing about the circumstances of this shooting, whether gun control would have worked or not worked. But there they are. There's a dead body, and they got to politicize it. There's a dead body. Let's go right after that Second Amendment. There's a dead body. Blame Trump. Trump. She is a sick, twisted, evil woman. There's no other word. And I'm telling you, they are celebrating. They couldn't even say a prayer for the guy on the floor of the House. They are now openly justifying and celebrating political terrorism. The Democratic Party, if no one else has the guts to say it, I'm going to say it. They're not just a communist organization. The left now has become the party of murder. They are now a terrorist organization that celebrates political murder. Now, you tell me, how can you make peace with them? There's nothing to talk about anymore. There can be no compromise. There can be no, quote, bipartisanship. The American people now have to understand that the Democratic Party is the enemy of America, the enemy of our Constitution, the enemy of our freedom.
Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory. May God watch over his family. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
That, of course, was President Trump yesterday addressing the country after the brutal murder and assassination of Charlie Kirk. 7:50 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is from 617. You can text the Kuhner man, 70470, and 617 makes an absolutely brilliant point. Jeff, notice how when the victim is on the right, like, say, Charlie Kirk, we never know the motive. But when they're not identifiable as conservative, then the perpetrator is always MAGA-loving, i.e. the assumption that the Minneapolis shooter was MAGA before they saw the Kill Trump gun magazines. That's an excellent point. Oh, that's an excellent point. I mean, the lies now, the media is so full of lies. They have to downplay the fact and cover up the fact that the political violence is all coming from the left. They go on about, oh my God, Trump is Hitlerizing. No. MAGA, oh my God, January 6th, oh my God, we're not safe. Conservatives are going to shoot and kill people. All of the shootings are either trans activists, BLM, Antifa, or crazed left-wingers. And now Charlie Kirk. Why? Because you disagreed with his opinions? Because you disagreed with his politics? Because you disagreed with his ideology? You Democrats are animals. You're savage animals. That's what you are. And if you think you're going to silence us, I'm telling you, Trump is completely right. Charlie's voice is only going to get bigger. It's only going to get grander. All you've done now is embolden us. You've woken us up even more. You've fortified us even more. And I'm sorry to do this. I truly am. Okay? But I just want to give all of you a taste. Just a taste. I don't want you to throw up your breakfast. But this is the kind of stuff multiplied by millions. This is the Democrats. Okay? This is what they do. So, I want to give a hat tip to Sergeant Rock. Thank you, because he sent this to me. Now, this is the reaction by Democrats and leftists on social media. Quote, okay, this is a screenshot on X. Breaking news. Charlie Kirk loses gun debate. Another one. Whoever shot Charlie Kirk, thank you. And then the clapping hands emoji. These people are scum. I'm telling you, they're scum. This is sick. I want to read one more, and then I want to go right back to the phone lines. This is from Caitlin on Messenger. Jeff, my daughter Joanna just told me she doesn't want to go to school and see kids celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. She told me everyone in her school last year was all sad and gloomy because Trump didn't die the day he was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. This is such a tragedy, a great loss for our country. Charlie Kirk is irreplaceable. My condolences to his beautiful family. He was a smart, good, compassionate man. This is making me sick. I love him. There's never going to be another like him. Never. And I do hope whoever is responsible rots in hell. And Jeff, Charlie Kirk spoke out against the indoctrination on all these college campuses. And he educated so many of these students he would debate. He made a difference. This country needed him. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let's go to Larry in Leominster. Thanks for holding, Larry.
I have had a relationship where I've come out to rallies to help secure you, and you never asked me to do it. I did it on my own accord. And I'm not trying to insult you, sir, but you are not at Charlie Kirk's level, and I understood the threat to you. One of the first things I was taught in bodyguard school, there's actually schools for it, is if someone wants your client bad enough, you can't stop them. The problem with Charlie Kirk's situation, I cannot blame his security, but he doesn't have presidential level security. He couldn't have people checking those roofs and stuff like that. The one point I disagree with you strongly on is he was a bigger threat to the left than Trump was. Think about it like this. If you have built the perfect system of turning out little minions by the millions over 50 years, and then one guy with Gandhi-like qualities of being peaceful, common sense, and able to turn those people by the hundreds of thousands, that's the direct threat. He was upsetting their apple cart that they had put 50 years worth of crap into. No arguments, no nastiness. He was turning hearts and minds, and they couldn't have that.
Larry, you're an Air Force veteran. You're a military vet. And I can't thank you enough for all the security you've given me during all those rallies over all those years. You literally put your body on the line for me. And I want you to know I'll never forget that. And you have no idea how much I appreciate it. Larry, I've got to ask you, a lot of the listeners are convinced this was a professional job, a deep state job, that this wasn't some deranged leftist with a mental disorder or mental illness, that 200 yards away from that roof, one shot right to the neck. It was clean, it was concise, it was surgical, and then that person got out of there like a bat out of hell, and now is on the lam, is on the loose, and so far, law enforcement has been unable to catch him. Do you think this was a professional assassination, in your expert opinion?
A professional, Jeff, would tell you 1,600 yards or less is a waste of a shot for them because they do need to get away. The guy was lucky, and I'm going to say guy, because the crowd panicked. That, like you had said earlier in the show, that allowed him some escape time. A couple months on a range, anyone can do 200 yards. And I'm not trying to boast, that's nothing. Like that kid on the roof in Butler, had he had a little more patience and the luck of the hand of God didn't move Trump to move his head, that's called a pot shot. That's nothing. And I'm not saying he isn't tied to the deep state, but they never use their own people. It's always someone that they can indoctrinate brain-wise, like kind of, I forget the name of that program the CIA was doing. MK Ultra. There we go. It's not, they could turn that person to, and you're right, with everyone being called a Nazi and a white supremacist day in, day out, you're going to attract the flaky puffs that are going to want to do something and are easily influenced and manipulated.
Interesting. Larry, let me ask you, do you think the Democrats, the media, liberals, all those who keep calling us Hitler, Nazis, fascists, criminals, white supremacists, threats to democracy, are they ultimately to blame for what happened yesterday?
Yes. Liberal colleges have a built-in excuse I don't think you or your audience has thought about. You know how they fight tooth and nail to keep him out, Shapiro out, any conservative out. Now they can say, well, this demonstrates that the security, we can't provide it. It's too dangerous to have these people on here. We got to stop allowing these conservatives to come talk. It's just too dangerous. That's the true terrorism behind it. Now you have a built-in excuse to silence them on college, not totally, but on college campuses. It's going to be a fight, and they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep them out now.
Drop the mic. Larry, honestly, outstanding call. Please, I know you're on your way to Arkansas. Drive safe, my friend. And like I said to you on Messenger, I want to say it to everyone, so everyone can hear. Please, Larry, I want you to call every week. I want you to keep messaging me. You'll just be Larry from Arkansas instead of Larry from Leominster. But I want you to continue to be an active program on this show. Because I love your calls and I love your contributions. Safe travels, Larry, and God bless you, my friend. Take care, Larry. 617-266-6868 is the number. Gina by the way, best audience in the business. Best audience in the business. Gina in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Gina, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I want to say rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. He was a magnanimous voice on Real American Voice News, and people should tune into that channel because they don't really get the truth in the regular news stations here. And they do tell you a lot on this show. I also want to give a shout out to my sister. She took the shot, and a year later, she passed away. And she was never sick, and she never took medications, and she had to do it for a job. And we miss her dearly. Today's her birthday. I talk to people all the time about, what I see from that Real American Voice News. And, everybody calls in and talks to you and says, we can't wait till you get on the air. And a lot of people feel like that. You're a big voice, and keep doing what you're doing, and we're going to say prayers for you also.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you. I really appreciate it. God bless you and your family, and may God grant your sister eternal peace and salvation in heaven. God bless you, Gina. Thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mark in Pembroke. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Hi there, Jeff.
Hi, Mark.
I want to give you my take on this situation. So I'm in my 60s, and during the course of my life, the liberals have destabilized this society and all of its institutions. When I was younger, we were a prosperous, safe, happy, contented, and homogenous society, and that's simply not true anymore. And it's all the liberals' fault. And the liberals seem to specialize in the production of misfits and malcontents. And it used to be that the left and the right simply disagreed. And now we have absolutely nothing in common. And as you mentioned, earlier in the show, we hate each other. It's not just a matter of opposing viewpoints. We've got nothing in common, and we hate each other. And as a student of history, I know that it's impossible, absolutely impossible, for two groups of people who've got nothing in common and who hate each other, most importantly, hate each other, to coexist on the same territory. And this cannot go well. And I think we're seeing the beginning of an asymmetrical conflict. What's your take on this?
Well, look, I want to thank you for your courage. I'm not saying this to stroke your ego. I'm really being brutal. Again, like I'm in the confessional, because you are saying what many people are thinking. And it was the reaction of many after yesterday's assassination. And look, I'm not original in saying this. Many great minds over the last 5, 10, 15 years have said, we are now in a cold civil war in this country. It's an ideological civil war. It's a political civil war. It's a cultural, social civil war. And it doesn't take much to turn a cold civil war into a hot civil war. And the left now is growing increasingly hateful, increasingly desperate, increasingly intolerant. And look, as an historian, I can't help but think we're resembling the 1850s. And it was one assassination, and then another assassination, and then another assassination. And before you know it, there was so much hate that both sides couldn't wait to go at each other's throats. And look, I can only tell you this. Wherever communism has taken root, it has led to political violence and political terrorism. And what you saw yesterday, that was the act of a Bolshevik. Literally, that's what the Bolsheviks did. They would single out the top leaders of the anti-communist opposition, and they would kill them. They'd shoot them. And they did it to intimidate and terrorize the population. A, to eliminate the threat the perceived threat, but to terrorize and intimidate the population. And increasingly now, look how brazen they are. They went after Trump not once, but twice. They openly call for him, to be murdered. Here, you want cuts? I'll play you cuts all day. Jen Psaki on MSNBC said that people are praying for Trump to be dead. Again, that's MSNBC. Yesterday, the body wasn't even cold. I'm talking about he gets shot in the neck. He's taken to the trauma center. And Katie Tur and that idiot guest are going on about he had it coming. He was polarizing. He was divisive. He was a provocateur. He was a fascist. So freedom equals fascism in their sick, twisted mind. So this is now the problem. They hate us so much that when someone is killed, a prominent, articulate conservative is killed, they are openly gleeful and celebrating. So you tell me, how long can we last? And I'm hoping that our side restrains ourselves, because we are the middle of the country. We're the backbone of this country. Make no mistake about it. You see, and unlike them, we are Christians, whether we're faithful Christians or lapsed Christians. But my point is, we adopt essentially the Judeo-Christian ethic. We believe in the value of human life. They don't. We believe in true freedom and tolerance. They don't. We believe in forgiveness. We do. And turn the other cheek. They don't. And the big one, we don't believe in violence to settle our political disputes. They do. And we love our republic. We love our Constitution. We love our Bill of Rights. They want to destroy it. Look, Tim Kaine, the senator from Virginia, I want everybody to hear this. I could play you the cut. I don't want to waste your time. I'd rather take calls. Tim Kaine came out and said that the idea that our rights come from God Almighty, our Creator, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, is a, quote, dangerous belief that leads to the theocracy of Iran, if you can believe that. So what you're seeing now on the left is they no longer even believe in God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. According to Tim Kaine and the Democrats, rights come from the government, from the state. That's communism. They're about to elect Zoran Mamdani in New York. He's running away with this thing. He literally wants to abolish private property. He wants to seize, quote unquote, the means of production. He wants to drive the opposition out of New York City. He openly talks about Sharia law and supporting Hamas. And Elizabeth Warren kisses his ring and endorses him. Bernie kisses his ring and endorses him. The leading lights of the Democratic Party kiss his ring and endorse him. So when you have a communist movement take root, it inevitably leads to division, to political hatred, to terrorism, and to violence. And that's why Trump is desperately trying to rally the country to nip this in the bud before it's too late. The only hope that I see is that if the left pays such a terrible price for what they're doing, politically, that they get destroyed in the midterms, they lose again in 2028. In other words, they keep facing political defeat after political defeat, that maybe some of them will mend and change their ways. But that's fingers crossed. What I see now is a cycle of political violence that there's no end. And I'm telling you, I don't think the left is going to stop. You want my honest opinion? I think this has only whetted their appetite. And everybody is telling me to watch my back. And the reason why? Because they're not going to stop at Charlie Kirk. If they could take out Trump, they would. Who are we kidding? So the question we have to ask ourselves is, what do we do? And my answer is, We need to have a united front. That's the way to beat them. All conservatives, all patriots, libertarians, Trump supporters, everyone. We have to have a united front against the radical left. Because this way we can beat them. But if we continue to fight among ourselves, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. This is an absolutely brilliant message that I got from Craig from Marblehead on Messenger. Jeff, here is the difference. Charlie Kirk used his mouth to get his point across. The left has to use a gun. That's pretty much where we are. No, Craig, you're dead on. Absolutely dead on. This is from, you can also text the Kuner man, 70470, 70470. This is from 603. Jeff, there is so much that needs to be said about this unspeakable travesty that I almost don't even know where to start. So let me just say this. Charlie Kirk did nothing more than to speak the truth. But truth sounds like hate to those who hate the truth. It is my fervent prayer that the Lord will use this event to awaken our nation, that what they meant for evil, God meant for good. And in an almost prophetic turn of phrase, the name of Charlie's organization will ring true, and this event will be the turning point in the United States of America. Very eloquent and very powerful. Very well said, 603. 61, and I hope you're right. I truly do. Charlie was the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, and I believe his organization now is only going to get bigger and stronger, and I think it's going to even start going on even more college campuses. I'm sensing now a fierce determination now among so many conservatives and Trump supporters that, frankly, I didn't see before. So this assassination has changed at least our side. Middle America now, I believe, has now been not just awakened, but I think now galvanized and empowered in a way it never was before. Because now we clearly see who and what the left is. Okay, let me ask all of you, and it's the Kuner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. And this is Sandy. She put up this question. I think it's a great question. Do you believe the FBI will find Charlie Kirk's assassin? Let me repeat that. Do you believe the FBI, because they're the ones now spearheading the search for the killer, will find Charlie Kirk's assassin? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuner, wrko.com/Kuner, Kuhn as in national ER. Or if you prefer, you can vote via X, and man, was I active on X last night. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, Kuhn as in national ER. Currently, 36% of you believe that the FBI will nab or catch Charlie Kirk's killer. 63, almost 64% of you say no. So there's a lot of skepticism about the FBI, which I'm not surprised, to be honest. 617-266-6868. Maria in Ludlow. Thanks for holding, Maria, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Maria.
Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Honestly, I feel sick. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't mean sick from my ribs. I mean sick to my stomach after what happened yesterday.
I was in disbelief. I felt this numbness come over me, like it was a family member of mine that had passed away, and I'm grateful you're feeling better, and I pray for your safety because your name came to my mind also. Because this heinous, senseless act of violence, I mean, he was assassinated for speaking his truth, for speaking his mind. He was such a bright light amongst the young community by opening their eyes and by let them speak their minds. And it was a great loss for this country, for this nation, for the young generation, because now I don't even call them the Democratic Party anymore. I call them the domestic terrorism party, because that's exactly what they are. News outlets, all of these people, they are domestic terrorism. And it's sad. Yesterday on social media, I saw a lot of people with the F around and find out. I had to block a lot of people yesterday because my heart just, I could not take it. And for somebody to be happy with this happening, it shows the kind of people that they are. And it's disheartening, and I hope and pray that, you know, my heart goes out to his family, his beautiful wife Erica, his babies. This has to stop. The domestic terrorism party is pure evil. This is not even like between left and right anymore. These liberals, they're not even like a mental thing anymore. It's good versus evil. These people are pure hatred in their hearts. And, it's just, I am totally saddened that this happened, because this young man, he's a young man. I am 49 years old, and this young man is 31. He had his life ahead of him, and he made such a great outreach to the young community, and he helped so many. And because of this happening, they just woken up a sleeping giant, I believe, that this is going to get bigger. And I saw yesterday in social media that I almost fell off my seat, that young Democrats, young people were actually saying that their party is a party of hate, that they might have not agreed with everything or maybe nothing that Charlie said, but what their party has done is unspeakable. It's demonic. And I hope to God that whenever this person is found, and I believe this was like a professional person that was taught by the left and indoctrinated, and I hope when they do find him that they do not let this person have no airtime. His name should not be spoken. He should not get any recognition whatsoever, because what happens...
Oh, I agree. That's what he wants. He wants to be famous. 617-266-6868 is the number. This is an absolutely phenomenal text from 508. I mean, again, best. I know, I say it all the time. I'm sorry, it's true. I know I sound like a broken record. Best audience in the business. Listen to this doozy. Jeff, the way the cities across America won't burn in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination will tell you everything you need to know about the difference between the left and the right. That is an absolutely spectacular point. In the wake of George Floyd's death, they burned city after city to the ground. How many innocent civilians were killed? How many cops were shot, murdered, maimed? And here, a cold-blooded, premeditated, politically motivated assassination of Charlie Kirk, a conservative icon, a pivotal figure in the MAGA movement, a brilliant, outspoken conservative, a man who touched so many young people on thousands of college campuses. shot dead. Not one city is burning. There's not one riot. No businesses are being torched. Cars aren't being lit on fire. Nobody's being shot. We're not blocking traffic. We're not shutting the country down. In fact, we ask for a simple prayer in Congress and the Democrats shout us down. And notice, many of them openly celebrating his death and murder, gloating over the fact that he's now dead. And still, how civilized and restrained and peaceful we remain. And they call us Nazis? They call us Hitler? We're the threat to democracy? The violence is apparently all coming from us? You want to see how absolutely deranged, seriously, sick in the head, unhinged these people are? If I said it, you wouldn't, I'm telling you, you won't believe me. Okay, so here it is. I want you to listen now. This is Pritzker, that slob, okay, out in Illinois. Pritzker now, yesterday, first it was Elizabeth Warren. She was the one that went on about how we need more gun control. As I said, the body wasn't even cold. No, we need to have more gun control. Take away people's handguns. Take away anything you can take away from them. You don't even know the basic circumstances or facts of the case. The man was just pronounced dead 2 minutes ago. I blame Trump. I blame Trump for this culture of violence. It's all his fault. So he's responsible now for the death of Charlie Kirk? Are you that crazy? Are you that unhinged? Well, listen now to Pritzker. Listen now to this. He blames Trump, and if you can believe it, January 6. Roll cut 9. Mike.
My sympathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
This guy's disgusting. I'm telling you, this is disgusting. By the way, this is Pritzker who's going on, if you send in ICE to deport and detain and arrest illegal aliens, it's an invasion. That ICE is the modern-day Gestapo. That Trump is a modern-day Hitler. That Trump is a dictator. And that his supporters, you, me, most of us in this audience, that we all support fascism, white supremacy, and this dictatorship. And this slob is going on about Trump is fomenting this climate. It's all Trump. No, it's you and your party. You and your party. You're the ones who've been fomenting this violence. And notice, he talks about the shootings in Minnesota. Yeah, it was a trans activist who shot up a Catholic school. Sorry, a Catholic church, forgive me. That was violence on the left. What about Luigi Mangione? No, that's not violence on the left. What about Butler, Pennsylvania? That wasn't violence on the left. What about the attempted killing of Trump in Florida at the golf course? That wasn't violence on the left. Antifa? That's not the left. BLM? That's not the left. Shooting Steve Scalise, almost dying on the operating table? That's not violence on the left. I could go on and on and on. And again, January 6th, let's be clear. On January 6th, the only people that died were Trump supporters. Ashley Babbitt being the first one. Okay, Exhibit A. Roseanne Boylan, Exhibit B. I could go right down. 4 were murdered that day. They were all Trump supporters. But yet, notice, we're the ones who are responsible for this hate and violence. Enough is enough. Seriously, enough is enough. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Tom in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call. Sorry for the horrendous situation we're in. In regards to Charlie Kirk, if we get just past yesterday, if we can get past yesterday and the day before, the good that he did in the world was just between you, me, and every other conservative out there. They took his life and they martyred him, but his turning point, America, because of the brilliance of this guy, will live on its own. My hurt and my ache in my heart is for those 2 kids and the wife. You know, his going home to meet Jesus, he's okay now. And his deal wasn't one of politics. He wasn't a political guy. He was somebody who talked about the spiritual issue in America. I think that his legacy is going to be what Turning Point is, and who knows what comes out of those 2 girls. Who knows what comes out of that mom and that wife, right? And as much as we heard today, right, keep in mind, too, today's September 11th. What happened on September 11th? Benghazi was a September 11th thing. September 11th, when they dropped the towers, the 3,000 deaths, the miracle there was that we came together. Not that those 3,000 people went home to meet God. It was that we came together. Charlie Kirk did that, and he wasn't a challenge to somebody who thought different than him. He was a challenge to somebody who hated him. And he wasn't a hate monger. He loved people, and they crucified Jesus. They killed Christ. Instead of, not that it's a worry that we're heartbroken about his death at age 31, but think how lucky we are as a universe and as a nation that we had him for the 31 years that we had him, which was incidentally almost the life of Christ, right? Christ was only here for 33 years. But what he's done for us is tremendous. And the hurt and the heartache for me is for his 2 girls and his wife. That's my thoughts.
It's a beautiful thought. Honestly, Tom, very touching and absolutely beautiful, very eloquent. And look, I love my kids like everybody loves their kids. And they're a little older. They're 15 and 13. But even at this age, I'm thinking, boy, if they lost their father, how much it would, how much they would lose out. Imagine those 2 little babies. They're basically their babies. And now they're going to grow up without a father. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, as President Trump said last night, this is a very, very dark moment in America right now. Charlie Kirk, a leading voice of the conservative movement, a brilliant political organizer, someone who touched countless, literally millions of young people on college campuses all across the country, has now been brutally assassinated. The perpetrator is still at large. They arrested 2 suspects, 2 people of interest, as they were called. They were both released. They say they were not the shooters. And now this assassin is on the run. He is loose somewhere in the country, and the FBI, law enforcement are desperately trying to capture him. 617-266-6868. Before I go back to the blazing phone lines, I just want to read a quick text from my sister out in Arizona. And just so you understand the context, I have 2 nephews, both of whom go to the University of Arizona. So this is what my sister wrote, and Martin is my brother-in-law. Jeff, Martin and I, along with the boys, Matthew and Andrew, are heartbroken over the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He came to their university last year, and they loved it. Everyone just keeps talking about him as a person who supported Trump and the conservative movement. But he was so much more than that to our youth. Many young college students feel confused about their future, and they're depressed. He inspired them to turn to God. Let them know they all had something of value, and that they did not need a college degree to achieve their dreams, as did he. I really hope this is what everyone will highlight about Charlie. I hope that our youth that were inspired by Charlie will keep his memory alive on college campuses and continue to spread his beautiful message. Well said. Jen, if you're listening, very well said. Listen now to the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox. He is, by the way, calling for the death penalty, as is President Trump, and frankly, as am I. This assassin should get a lethal injection. That's how they do it in Utah. I don't care. The electric chair, firing squad, lethal injection. I don't care. I want there to be the death penalty, and I want this to be done quickly, fast. I don't want to see procedural hurdles and appeal after appeal after appeal. This assassin should fry for what he did, and frankly, it should serve as a deterrence to others. Because if they give him a slap on the wrist, or if he doesn't get the death penalty, it's just going to inspire others to walk in his footsteps and kill more conservative leaders. Listen now to the governor of Utah saying it's a dark day for our state and for our country. Roll cut 6, Mike.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken.
I want to play a cut. He's completely right. Completely right. I want to play a cut. Congresswoman Nancy Mace. She was in a media scrum. Now, notice what the media is trying to do. Now that there's irrefutable evidence of left-wing political terrorism, that this was a clear political assassination, now all of a sudden violence is across the political spectrum. That no, it's not just the Democrats that are responsible. No. Republicans do it too. Hey, Trump supporters, you know how violent we are. And Mace's point is, can you name me one Trump supporter who killed anybody? Again, January 6th, again, everybody killed on January 6th were Trump supporters. So can you name me a Trump supporter that went out and killed any high-profile Democrat or anybody? Can you name me one? All the violence is either coming from the Islamists or from the radical left. Listen now to Nancy Mace saying the Democrats own what happened yesterday. Roll cut 11, Mike.
I'm going to say this. Democrats own what happened today. I am devastated. My kids have called panicking. They probably, all the kids of every conservative in the country called panicking. Just because you speak your mind on an issue doesn't mean you get shot.
Then by that logic, do Republicans own the shooting of the two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota?
Political.
Isn't this on both sides?
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm asking.
We don't know what condition Charlie Kirk is in right now. Some raging leftist lunatic put a bullet through his neck, and you want to talk about Republicans right now? No.
No, I'm asking.
No, not at all.
You said the Democrats.
No, this is on. Democrats own this.
But isn't there a
own
problem
this.
with political violence across the spectrum?
Yeah, we're talking about Charlie Kirk right now. That's the subject of this that we're talking about right now. Democrats own this 100%.
Look at the vermin in the media. I'm telling you, these people are sick. By the way, those 2 state lawmakers that were shot and killed, it was by a mentally ill man who was going on about how Governor Walz asked him in his crazy mind, to kill these 2 lawmakers. He was a leftist, for God's sake, who shot those 2 lawmakers in Minnesota. I mean, this is pathetic. So, no, you see, look at the game now they play. No, well, Republicans own shootings too. Can you name me one? Well, a shooting in Minnesota. No, that was done by a mentally ill man who is a registered Democrat. What are you talking to me about? Look, they can't even acknowledge the truth when it hits them in the face. So, let me ask all of you, do the Democrats own the assassination that happened yesterday? Is this constant rhetoric coming from the media, coming from the Democrats, coming from liberals, calling us Nazis, fascists, white supremacists, authoritarians, an existential threat to democracy? Has it now led inevitably to the political violence and political murder that we saw yesterday? I say yes. What say you? Jennifer in Ipswich. Thanks for holding, Jennifer, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too good. I couldn't sleep last night. I was crying all night. I was on X last night, just looking, people celebrating about this. It was just horrible. I actually blocked some friends that I thought were friends of mine because they were like, well, I don't have empathy for somebody, and I'm just like, wow, like I can't. This is horrible.
Jennifer, I'm just curious. When you asked your friends, what did Charlie Kirk ever do to you? What did he ever do besides debate that, made him deserve to be killed? That they would be so cold and callous? I mean, did you confront them on that?
You know what? I didn't, because I was just so upset and so disturbed by it that I was speechless.
Jennifer, let me tell you what's haunting me, and you tell me if you agree or disagree. What's haunting me, and I could tell because I'm getting a lot of emails again this morning, and there's a lot of moonbats, a lot of hardcore leftists who are emailing the Kuner man. And they're going on how Trump is to blame for what happened, how I'm to blame, literally, I swear to you, that Trump, me, people like Charlie Kirk, etc., that we have all of this coming to us, that we've created this climate of hatred and fascism in America, and that this is just the beginning. You can sense the bloodthirstiness out there. And so my question to you, and this is what's bothering me, I don't know if this is the end. My fear is this may just be the beginning. Do you fear now that we're going to see more political violence, more people murdering and assassinating leading conservatives, leading conservative voices? I mean, I'm just curious. What say you, Jennifer?
I unfortunately think we are going to see more of it, not from the right, but definitely from the left. Yeah, they're saying political violence shouldn't be allowed in this world, but 3 days from now, they'll probably still call us Nazis and everything again. So I don't even know where we go from here.
Jennifer, Thank you very much for your call. I really appreciate it. Look, a lot of you are emailing the Kuner man. You're saying, Jeff, it almost feels like there's a death in the family. And that's how I feel. It's almost like there's like a funeral, there's like almost like we're in mourning. The country's in mourning. And it's almost like we're attending a wake or a funeral. Like a family member has just passed away. That's in many ways how I feel. Anyway, we can't allow this to demoralize and depress us. This is very important because that's what the left wants. That's the point of political terrorism. That's why, communists always shoot their opponents because they want to terrorize, intimidate, bully, and frighten people, demoralize people. And that's not what Charlie Kirk would want. Charlie Kirk was a fighter, a debater, an American, someone who always believed in moving forward and never looking back. And he was a warrior, an ideological, cultural warrior. And to me, what we have to do now is we have to unite. The right must unite, conservatives, Trump supporters, everybody. We must unite and defeat the radical left once and for all. Defeat the Democrats once and for all. 61 agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Brooks in North Carolina. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Brooks.
Hi. I just think you're doing a wonderful job, as always, Jeff, and you're really memorializing Charlie in the wonderful light that you are. He was a young prodigy chosen by the Lord, and there's sadly a condition that we describe when somebody special like this comes into our world as irreplaceable. And, let us never forget the voice of Rush Limbaugh when Charlie Kirk was just coming around, and he kind of humored everybody and said, Charlie Kirk is running the White House. And I'll never forget those words from our beloved friend Rush Limbaugh. Charlie Kirk, usually when you have a young presence like this, people will often say, so-and-so, like Michael Savage, for example, you were on his program, could say that, he was grooming you, but the conditions that we found ourselves in was that Charlie was grooming us. Charlie was grooming us. He didn't need he was just spiritually fit. He was spiritually whole, and he often would say things like, when we introduce violence into any part of a debate, we've lost the debate. It's not an option. And so may he rest in peace, Lord Jesus. May he rest in peace, and God just grace those children, his beautiful son and daughter, with understanding that their father's presence here had impact that will never, ever be forgotten. Jeff, I wanted to just quickly talk about some very, very difficult things. Yesterday, for example, my wife Kim and I were looking at President Trump's security detail in horror when these leftist screaming women got within an arm's length to him in that restaurant. We saw this in horror, and I said, my God, they could have ricin, they could have fentanyl in their purse, they could have a 38 special. Why aren't these women being detained, for God's sakes? Trump is visibly saying, get them out. Number one, they shouldn't have been there. Number two, it had to have been a security leak within that restaurant. And I'll kind of create the bridge to how this relates to Charlie Kirk, because there is a connection with the lack of security detail. Trump has, should, again, fire his entire Secret Service. Those women never should have been that close to him. That was terrifying. Look, for anybody out there, that wants to debate this, you can, but the Russians and the Israelis use women as assassins. If you don't believe me, look it up. So just because they come in with the Louis Vuitton, purses and all of this, they were a threat. They never should have been left. They should have been detained and searched. Anyway, I was...
Brooks, no, you're dead on. You are dead on, and I'm so happy you mentioned it. Look, This is what my wife told me this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. She said to me, we were just having a little bit of breakfast before I do the pre-show production with Sandy and Mike. And she said, you watch, Trump will be next. They'll try to get Trump. She's not saying they will, but she said, you watch. You think they're going to stop with Charlie Kirk? My wife honestly told me two things. She said to me, watch your back. She says, I'm telling you, you better watch your back. And she said, I'll tell you right now, they're going to go for Trump again. The rhetoric that they're spewing, the hate that they're spewing, how much they loathe this man, how they so wanted him killed in Butler. They have turned him into Hitler. In their minds, they truly believe we're living in the Fourth Reich. That's how deranged and crazy these people have become. And it's because of nonstop propaganda and indoctrination. And when you truly believe you're being ruled by Hitler, it's not a dog whistle, it's a bullhorn. Kill him, assassinate him, finish him off, save our republic, save our democracy. And my fear is they got Charlie Kirk and they're going to try to go after Trump again. And I agree with you. His security sucks. I'm sorry to put it in such a crude way. His security is no good. Those women shouldn't have gone. They came within a couple feet of him. This is insane. So, and look, I want to go to your earlier point because I think both of your points are superb. Look, what they've now done, let's be very clear, is they've made Charlie Kirk a martyr. They've made him a martyr. That's what they don't realize. He's now more popular than ever. His message will now resonate more than ever. And I think he's going to inspire even more people to walk in his footsteps. And, you described him. He was a Christian family man. That was Charlie Kirk. It was God, family, country. And he was a peace-loving man. He wasn't a pacifist. He did believe in projecting American power. But he so loved peace. And you're right. Whenever he would debate anybody, he would say, look, if you have to resort to violence, you've lost the argument. He truly believed in the best of our ideals, in a real Republican form of government, a constitutional government. He believed in political freedom, free speech, free assembly, freedom of the media, freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of debate, civil, open discourse and debate. And that's what made him such a threat to the left. And he went right at their base of power. The left's power is that they control the institutions of cultural power. And that in particular is education. They indoctrinate our kids in the classroom. They indoctrinate them in high school. They indoctrinate them in college. And so where did Charlie Kirk go? He went to college campuses and frankly also high school students. And so he confronted that indoctrination. He challenged the fact that they were being brainwashed. And he challenged the socialism and the Marxism and the communism that they were marinating our kids' brains in. And that's why he posed such a mortal threat to the liberal regime. And to be honest with you, that's why they're all celebrating. If he was a nobody and a nothing, if he was someone who was ineffectual and feckless, they wouldn't give a damn. But the fact that they are dancing on his grave, again, that's how the Bolsheviks roll. They see people that are effective, that can galvanize opposition, that's a threat, kill them, take them out. And what they want, and this is why I'm urging everybody, please listen, my parents come from Eastern Europe, my grandparents. I know this movie. I've seen it many times. What they want is for you to be depressed, for you to throw up your hands and say, what can we do? We can't do anything. To be demoralized, to be afraid, to be intimidated. We have to do the exact opposite. We have to show them that he's going to be a martyr and that his message of faith, family, and freedom, we are now going to carry this banner. And we're going to be bigger, louder, stronger, and more vigorous and energetic and united than ever. In other words, you kill one Charlie Kirk, you get 10 more Charlie Kirks. You kill 10 Charlie Kirks, you get 100 Charlie Kirks. That's the only way to beat him. And look, again, I'm going to be honest with all of you like I'm in the confessional. This is not a political war anymore. This is a spiritual, moral battle. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask all of you. To me, this audience is almost like a family. Actually, it is a family. It's an extended family. And first, I just want to say thank you for another incredible show. The calls have been absolutely phenomenal. And the texts, the emails, the messages, you have no idea how grateful I am. You take this show, and I'm speaking from the bottom of my heart, you take this show to a completely different level. And so, as a family, almost like we're mourning at a wake, and we're sitting around the kitchen table, I want to ask all of you, because many of you are emailing the Kuner man and texting me and messaging me, that many of you fear this could be the 21st century's assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That it started off as a little event or a small event in some part of the Balkans, and before you knew it, it blew up into something really big. Do you fear that the assassination of Charlie Kirk is almost like crossing the Rubicon? That it's going to lead to a deepening, declining cycle of political violence? And that now it's almost as if political terrorism is going to become normalized. And that more conservatives are going to be hunted down, shot, and killed. And that this potentially could rip and tear the country apart. Not today, not tomorrow, but weeks and months down the line. I'm just curious, because many of you are saying, Jeff, I don't know if this country will ever be the same again. How do you feel? I want to hear from you. 617-266-6868. Mary in Andover. Thanks for holding, Mary, and welcome.
Jeff, it's an honor to be in your show. My husband and I have been faithful listeners for years.
Thank you.
And he's got associates in education and history, photographic mind, conservative, and business management. And I was the debate team in Winthrop High School. I was an elected town meeting member with my dynamic mother in Winthrop. Then at UMass Amherst. Oh, God, am I nervous? This is crazy. I was in the student senate and studied music. This is just a horrible day, but we have to stick together. And thank God for you and everybody, the listeners. It's so brilliant.
Mary, please, there's nothing for you to be nervous about. You're among friends. Mary, I got to ask you, when you heard the news that he had been shot, and then, of course, the devastating news that he was killed, were you shocked? Were you surprised? Or did you expect that something like this was going to happen?
I was in third grade when JFK was assassinated. And in eighth grade, Mrs. Goodman's class in English, when RFK and then MLK. The 60s, this is tougher than the 60s. It's just, well, there's lots of voices of reason out there, thank God. You're a beacon in the light.
Oh, thank you.
And your listeners are so...
No, but you're right. It's very eerily reminiscent to the 60s. And, it's funny, but just to piggyback off of your excellent point, RFK Jr. came out, and, his father, as you just mentioned, was assassinated. And he came out and said, and this is how he phrased it, another eloquent truth teller has been silenced. Meaning they silenced my uncle, they silenced my father, they silenced Martin Luther King Jr., and now they silenced Charlie Kirk. And let's be honest, they would have silenced Donald Trump in Butler had it not been for the hand of God. So, and I agree with you, Mary. I think the violence now is worse than in the 60s. 60s were horrible, don't get me wrong, but I think it's worse. It's more frequent, it's more consistent, and then people were condemning the violence. You know, it was still considered abnormal, like this is wrong. You didn't have millions of people, for example, you know, cheering the death of JFK or cheering the death of Martin Luther King or cheering the death of RFK. But you've got these sick liberals now, and they are sick, these Democrats. They're throwing a party. And these people, I can't believe this. They're like, yeah, like, you know, one down, more to go. We have to stay united. Now is the time. We have to. Mary, thank you so much for that call. 617-266-6868. Dan in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Jeff, the left is in a stage of anger and grief. I should say anger and rage. The progressive promise of justice and equity and dismantling racism and discrimination and taking on privilege and wealth, it's all being exposed for the great lie that it is. You know, you look at Ariana Presley, AOC, and Ilhan Omar. In 6 years in Congress, they've gone from nothing to multimillionaires. The Democrat Party peddles in identity politics and victimhood. Meanwhile, they're all living off the hog. Today, we have to accept the fact that the Democrat Party is not a political party anymore. It's a pathogen.
It's almost like they're organized crime. Really, they're like a political mafia. And, you know, if you go up against the mafia, they kill you. And they're political gangsters. And you're right, they profit like gangsters. And they're as vicious and hateful and intolerant and frankly evil like political gangsters. And I think that's what I think Kirk's assassination now has really woken people's eyes. Look, I'm going to read a text that I got. I'm going to do it on the other side of the break. And the only reason why I'm teasing it is because it's a blast from the past. It's a text from someone that I haven't heard from in many, many years. And I just want to know if that person wants his name mentioned on the air or not. So if not, of course, I won't mention that person's name. If so, I will. But I have to tell you, I think it so powerfully, accurately describes the state that we're in right now. And what the Democrats have become, what the left has become. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I got a very powerful text message. This is from really someone that, let's put it this way. We were very close years ago. I haven't heard from him in many years. I don't want to say this person's name because this person has not given me, I'm asking for permission to use their name, but if they don't, I'll respect their privacy. So I'm just going to read what they wrote me. And I think it's an absolutely brilliant text. And I think it sums up exactly where the left is, where we are, and where the country is. Jeff, if Charlie Kirk was a liberal figurehead, the mainstream media would be leading with clips of his inspirational talks with the youth of America. No doubt there would be some hashtag campaign with one of his sayings. He would be knighted, but he is a conservative, or was a conservative. So he is a firebrand, a provocateur, a rabble-rouser. He is also dead. When will it finally sink in that they, the left, the Democrats, the media, they don't want to debate. They want you dead. They are what we thought they were all along and pretended it wasn't happening. This is so true. Oh my God, is this true? And then the text continues. Occupy Wall Street. Well, that was just the unwashed masses protesting for the summer, we said. Antifa then took over an American city, Portland. Nothing happened. We then allowed their warped ideas into Congress and sit idly by while they make wild statements and lead us on a long march to oblivion. We don't call it what it is. We allow it because we are letting them and their communist ideas into the room and to have a seat at the table, to debate, to argue, to compromise. That is what we lied to ourselves. Deep down, in dark corners, in late night texts to the guy who thinks like you say out loud, they don't want debate. They want us dead. And that's the truth. As Paul Harvey would have said, and now you know the rest of the story. That's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And that's now what middle America, what every conservative, what every Trump supporter, what every person opposed to the left, I don't care, every Republican, whatever you call yourself, that's now what we have come to realize. For many, to our shock and horror. For others, we knew this all along. It doesn't matter. We're now all at the same point. They don't want to debate us. They want us dead. 617-266-6868 is the number. Agree, disagree. Wolfman in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Wolfman, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. First of all, I want to send my prayers out to Charlie's family. It's a hard day for us non-liberals here, us Republicans. But I want to give you a little bit of timeline here, and just bear with me for a few minutes. 24 years ago today, the Twin Towers came down, almost 3,000 people were killed. Our country rallied as one. Didn't matter what walk of life you came from, what your political opinion was, what your religion, race, none of that. Fast forward 24 years ahead, after the deep state has been chiseling away at our freedoms, our patriotisms, and our rights, and we're in this bubble now of assassinations and attempted assassinations. So I was watching TikTok yesterday, and there were several colleges where they were asking kids, what do you feel? And they're like, I don't care. I'm just going along with what everybody else thinks. This shows the indoctrination of our country's youth. And as far as that shooter, I don't think he was a professional shooter. When I was in the military, I was making 200-yard shots with no problem. I got expert in 1,500 yards. That would be a professional shooter. He did have some training, but he wasn't a professional. Yes, I think he was indoctrinated by the deep state.
You know, I got to say, Larry mentioned that, but many, vets and stuff have been emailing me and texting me saying exactly what you're saying, Wolfman, that, hey, Jeff, because for me, honestly, 200 yards, I took a gun class, and the shooting target was like 10, 15 feet away from me. And I completely missed the target. My bullets were bouncing off the wall. So, and that was like with a .38. So to me, 200 yards, one shot, bang, right in the neck. I'm like, whoa. For me, that's an impressive marksman. But I defer to you, Wolfman, and I defer to Larry, and you guys are the vets. You guys are the experts, not me. So I think you're right. I think he had some training. I think there's no question. This was clearly premeditated, no question. This was clearly politically motivated, no question. And the question now, I know we're all mourning Charlie, but I think by tomorrow, yeah, we're still mourning Charlie. Please don't mistake me. But people are going to be saying, have you caught him yet? And I think the pressure now is going to build on Kash Patel, on Dan Bongino, on the FBI, on law enforcement to get this guy. And my fear is, I hope he doesn't get away. You know, he had a chance to get into a car, and, you know, he could be driving now for 12 hours or 14 hours. So he could be, God knows where. He could be here. He could be in Massachusetts. In other words, he could be literally on the other side of the country. He could be in Mexico. He could be in Canada. So I hope that they catch him and they get him. And my fear is, the longer this guy's on the run, the more likely it is the possibility that they won't catch him. And for the country, I don't think the country's going to accept it. So, you know, I'm praying that somebody there catches him, or we get lucky, we get a lucky break, or something happens. But look, Wolfman, I'm very happy. I'm happy you've called. Don't be a stranger, because it's been a while since you've called. I hope you're doing well. I want to thank you for your service. And I completely agree with you, Wolfman. This is a very, very dark day for conservatives, Republicans, non-liberals, as you put it, Trump supporters. America lost a leading voice. And I just pray and hope that in his death, he inspires more young people to follow in his footsteps. Wolfman, God bless you, and thank you for that call. 617-266-6868. And, you know, Wolfman mentioned the reaction of many students. Look, I think it's very clear. This is what Dottie wrote to me on Messenger. Jeff, we will never fix this problem until we take back the education system in K-12. And she's completely right. That they indoctrinate the kids starting in kindergarten. And they indoctrinate them through elementary school and middle school and high school. And then they're really ready for the radical Marxists and leftists when they hit college. And Charlie Kirk challenged that grip on power, that the educational, cultural power that the left had. But for us as a movement, we have to take back control of K-12 education, college, the entire education curriculum. That's been the key to the left's success. It's like a factory. They just keep producing these socialists and these woke liberals because they're brainwashing them in the schools. And what Charlie did, he was like a deprogrammer. He unbrainwashed them. And that's why the left hated him, and that's why the left wanted to take him out. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I would be remiss if I did not mention this. And I wish I had mentioned it at least earlier in the show, but as they say, better late than never. Please do not forget this. I hope you never forget this. TMZ, which, as you know, immensely popular. It's where a lot of Americans get their entertainment news. TMZ was doing a live stream yesterday. And during the live stream, you could literally hear the employees at TMZ cheering. I'm talking clapping, hollering, cheering, fist pumping the moment it was announced that Charlie Kirk was dead. These people are sick. I'm telling you, they're sick. And so, you know, that text that I read, they don't want to debate us. They want us dead. It's true. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't care. The Kennedy assassination, RFK, Martin Luther King, I could go on and on. Reagan, remember when he was shot? Wasn't killed, but remember when he was shot? You wouldn't hear of anything like this at a network where people are like, yeah, yeah, clapping, yeah, woohoo, yeah. That was unheard of. Now, look at this. They literally can't control themselves. 617-266-6868. Okay, lines are jammed. Sam in Somerville. Thanks for holding, Sam, and welcome.
stuff. You're putting your...
Hey, Sam, that was so hateful.
The Jim Crow stuff, Jeff.
What Jim Crow stuff? He opposed Jim Crow. He opposed segregation. In fact, the Democrats are the ones who gave us Jim Crow and segregation. But again, look, here's a typical liberal. Look at this. Look, he had it coming. Look at this. He had it coming. So they lie about his position. By the way, he believed in equality under the law for everybody. He loved Martin Luther King. He supported civil rights. He hated segregation. So you see, they lie about what he believed in, and then they say he had it coming. Wee-oo. 617-266-6868. Okay, Mike, who do you want me to go to next? Bill in Medfield. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Hi, how you doing, Jeff?
Not so good, Bill. It's a sad day, but please go ahead.
Well, all I got to say is, well, the Democrats are crazy lunatics, but here's what you got to do. Number one, you can't attack them and go shooting until they go for your guns, like Jesse Kelly says. When they go for your guns, then it's Civil War time. But as of right now, let them keep digging, Democrats. Keep digging the hole, because everybody around the world and everybody in the country now sees you for what you are. You are the lunatics. You're for the devil. We're for God. We're for righteousness. And right wins in the end. Evil falls by the wayside. So hang on in there. We're going to win in the end. And we could beat them in the battlefield, too, but that's somewhere down the line, but we're for right, they're for wrong. Fly on, proud bird. You're free at last, Charlie Kirk.
Amen. Bill, thank you very much for that call.